Field of 68 after dark.
Welcome in to the Field of 68 after dark on a Thursday edition of the show. Very busy Thursday in college basketball. Number one in action, Purdue survives in the Bahamas. Texas Tech, it appears, is about to polish off their spot in the Baha Mar championship game in the Bahamas. But it's a theory of survival in the Bahamas. It ain't all just sweet. These are hard-fought wins down there in the Bahamas, and we'll talk about them today here on the show. I am John Martin, joined tonight by Rob Dauster and my consolation bracket brother, Randolph.
That's a 5-second call, man.
There we go. Let it all out, man. I want this to be a safe space for any and all issues with the officiating. You and Coach Steve Forbes got a lot to say. Clearly, we'll talk about it tonight. We'll also do the panic meter, fellas. So we got a very busy show, but good to have you as always. Let's start with number one, though. Number one was in action tonight, Purdue, and it was a very, very chippy game, a very back-and-forth game. Memphis led 64-61 with 7 minutes left, but Fletcher Lawyer finishes with 20. C.J. Cox, who we're going to hear from in just a little bit, had some really timely shot-making, his second-best game of his career from a scoring perspective with 18, 4-7 from three. Rob, look, they're the number one team, and so you can pick nits with just about any game they play because the bar for them is so high. But this was a very physical game. This was a very chippy game. Technicals were being assessed. I mean, it had it all, and they found a way to come out with the win against Memphis. What did you think of that Purdue performance tonight, Rob Dauster?
I thought they survived a Braden Smith stinker, right, which is always something that is important to be able to do. You got to find a way to be able to win when your best player is not playing like your best player. It's a little worrying to me. I don't know. Part of why I was so in on Purdue as being the best team in college basketball was one, I mean, you get back to All-Americans and 3 guys that were all conference that were starters, 2 of them for 4 years, right, in your backcourt. And 2, I thought they had solved some of their biggest issues, specifically on the defensive end of the floor, their ability to get on the defensive glass and their ability to protect the rim. They have gotten much better in and around the basket. The defensive 2-point field goal percentage is way down. Block rate is way up. They're still not great on the defensive glass, but it hasn't really impacted the overall numbers that you see for what they are defensively yet. And that's the one thing that's a little bit concerning to me, right? You look at these other teams that are kind of in and around that top 5, top 8, and they're kind of rolling through some of these by-game opponents that they have. And look, Akron's really good. Memphis is a pretty solid mid-major program right now, John. And winning at Alabama is nothing to
that's a curse word. That's a curse word. You bastard.
Yeah, they're a really good mid-major program right now. So they're getting the job done and they're beating good, solid teams. And like I will give them credit. There's not a lot of teams that are playing programs like Akron right now. A lot of these guys are either looking for a top 10 team or a bottom 10 team. And Purdue went out and they played like maybe the best mid-major, probably the best team in the MAC. So I give them credit for doing that. But it's still something where, and maybe my expectations were just too high, RC, but it doesn't feel like they've clicked into that next level where it's like, oh shit, Purdue is here and they're doing what we thought they were going to do, like they were in Zach Edey's senior season. Does that make sense?
No, I don't totally disagree with everything you're saying. I will say this. I think I'm impressed with the win because, like you said, they're All-American. The best point guard in college basketball didn't play well. Braden Smith didn't play well.
Mm-hmm.
And if he doesn't play well scoring the ball, you typically would have concerns. And they're just finding ways to win. They're getting everybody's big best punch. And let's give Memphis some credit. The speed and the athleticism gave them some trouble. Like Dougie can go, man. Dougie got a gear about him that many people have. It's hard to keep him in front of you. And he was disruptive getting in the paint. He was snaking the ball, so he was getting downhill, putting pressure on those guys. I think if I had to say one player I'd like to see more out of, and that's Oscar Clough. I'd like to see more out of him. I just think on the offensive end, maybe catching lobs, maybe finishing some of those offensive rebounds around the rim. I think he does a really good job defensively. But I'd like to see a little bit more out of him on the offensive end of the floor. They're going to get everyone's best shot. I think they've played a really good schedule so far. Looks like they're going to get Texas Tech tomorrow, and that'll be another big game. They're controlling the paint. It'll never look pretty because they're big. They're going to play essentially with two traditional bigs. But more importantly, they're controlling the paint. And so if they can get consistent anything production wise from the bench, I think that just helps their cause to finally make a championship run. But I like this Purdue team. I think they're battle tested. We've seen that already. Can they get enough? Can Lawyer play the way he did tonight when they need him to play when Braden Smith was struggling? And he did. So you saw Cox today play well when Braden Smith did. So if guys like that continue to step up the way they did tonight, I don't have a problem or concern with Purdue. I still think they're there, when it all said and done in the Final Four.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think too, right? And I really do believe that Braden Smith is one of the best point guards we've ever seen in college basketball. Certainly one of the most productive.
Easy now,
because of the way that he can control. I mean, because of the way that he can control a game, because of the way that he can facilitate. I'm talking about like longevity of the career that he kind of has, right? RC.
Gotcha. I got you.
But I think that it's also there's something. I think part of it is like these guys have been through a lot of battles, right? They have played in national championship games. They have played in Big Ten championship games. They have played in some very real Big Ten battles and Big Ten wars. And the idea that they're going to start the season with like Evansville and Oakland, some of it is like you're fired up to start the year. And then it's like, can we just get to some of these like real games where we are really going to be able to test ourselves, right? I feel like there's some of that too. It's not that they're not good enough to be able to do it, but part of it is just kind of all right. Like we've done this stuff. Like, can we get to the part of the season that is where we're really going to be tested and really be able to show it? Does that make sense? Am I maybe reading too much into it?
Basically, what you're saying, Rob, is are they going to cut down the nets? Because we've seen Purdue do everything else. And we can't get that answer in here in November. That's the only thing missing from the resume, right? That's why, when we said something about it before about Purdue, I think Purdue's going to win the Big Ten, provided they stay healthy. I don't worry about Purdue in the early rounds of the NCAA. The bottom, it boils down to, can they win a championship? They've been right there. That's the only thing missing from Matt Painter's resume. And he's been a great coach. They've been in the tournament. They've done all those things. And and what I meant when I said there's pressure, it's Purdue. And it's Purdue seems like they're always going to be good under Matt Painter. It's just like check the box. The question is, are they the best team in the country year in and year out? And they're not that. And this year, with minus Zach Edey, this is probably the best chance that they have to win a national championship. And so the problem is that
that's the thing about it, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's the thing about it is, yeah, they're being. I don't even know if it's a victim, but they're being held to a standard where yeah. And I think you see this a little bit with.
But they should be held to that standard, by the way.
No, they should be, and I promise you, like,
right?
Yeah.
It's a compliment when we say that you beat a team that has a McDonald's All-American and a guy that averaged 16 points in the Big Ten that these guys have seen, and a Memphis program. I joke about their mid-major, but that's Memphis. That's Memphis, right? When we say that you only beat them by 9 and like you were in a battle with a team that is kind of can expose some of your flaws, right? When we say we're a little bit worried about that tells you what the expectation is for where Purdue is. And I think you see this with like, you see it with the Dodgers when they lose a couple games in Major League Baseball, right? And when the Warriors, when they were kind of in the middle of their dynasty, and I'm not saying that the Purdue is a dynasty or anything like that, but you get my point. Like when you reach that level where you are that good for that long, when you aren't beating people by 20, where you're favored by what was it, favored by 15 or something like that today? Yeah. When you aren't covering those spreads, then it becomes something where, okay, is there something wrong here? What can we talk about? Like, where is this kind of going? And when you get held to that expectation, this is kind of the scrutiny that you get. Um, I
And in
I am
fairness,
still
real quick, I just want to butt in. In fairness,
go ahead.
they were only it was only supposed to be a 12-point win per Ken Palm's metrics, and I believe it was only 8 at Torvik. So, I mean, I think analytically it didn't really, deviate that much. The market kind of went crazy with how bad Memphis looked against UNLV, but I do think analytically this basically played out as
That's fair.
expected. So,
Yeah, that's
and
fair.
again, like, I mean, sometimes you do see deviations like that. I guess I would just say, like, yes, when it comes to Purdue and any team like Purdue, whether it's, Duke or Houston or, whoever's in that top 5, like, we are going to absolutely put their performance under a microscope. And we could do that, right? Like, we could talk about how Braden Smith went 2 of 14 tonight. We could talk about the fact that every time he tried to create offensively, it was a mess against this Memphis defense. Like, it just was. But I could also, on the other hand, say, look, they went into Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama. Like, Alabama looks like that looks like one of the best wins in America right now. And Memphis, for as limited as they are, they do have nothing but long athletes. And honestly, the Big Ten is not going to have a team like that. Like, and they're chaos. And I compare it to, like, I hope this never happens to you guys, but if you ever get in a swamp with an alligator, it's going to put you in the gator roll, and it's going to try to drag you down to the bottom of the lake. That's what Memphis does, man. It's ugly. It doesn't really look good, but that's what they want to do. And Purdue found a way to overcome, a bad night from Braden Smith. So it is a high standard, but I do think within that we have to say they're still finding ways to do this, Rob.
Yeah, I was about to make that same point about Alabama, John. That I think it's one thing to be able to pull away late and win a game against Memphis like this. It'll be another thing if it's the same kind of problem tomorrow against the number 15 team in America, right? Against Texas Tech. Because what we saw against Alabama, they looked completely different. And it was, I don't know if it's fair to say it was a different level of effort, but there was a different level of performance compared to what we got the game before that when they were tied with Oakland at the half. Like, I just think that this is a team where when the lights shine the brightest, they're going to be all right, it's go time now. This was just the tune-up to get ready for that game tomorrow.
Yes.
And let's also add Trey Kaufman-Renn didn't play great either. He had
did
foul
not.
trouble. So they can, you can run offense with, what makes them so unique or so hard to guard is you can run your offense through either one of those guys. You can take when Braden Smith's out struggling, hey, run your offense through Trey Kaufman.
Mm-hmm.
And he struggled with foul trouble. So he wasn't there tonight. So I wouldn't overthink this. Like I said, we're still in November. They still got to continue to develop that bench. May or someone think that freshman guard's impressing me each time he comes out. He's unafraid. He's physically ready to play. Can CJ Cox continue to keep this, this type of level going? He doesn't have to score 18 a game, but the confidence to step up, take shots that he's gonna get these shots. He's gonna be one of those guys. We were teasing him about that tonight. You'll hear his comment tonight talking about scouting reports. That was kind of funny. they must
it's the threat of it, Randolph.
Yeah.
It's like shooters, right? Like the value of a shooter is not necessarily the shot he makes. It's the threat of those shots that forces you to guard them, right? If CJ Cox is a guy where every third game he gets you 20, then he is a guy where you have to circle him on the scouting report and say, we cannot let him get to 20. Now, if he does it 2 times a season and he's capable of it, it's very different because that's one where if you're preparing to play Purdue, it's like, all right, well, if he gets going and once he gets going, we'll figure out a way to stop him, but we don't have to be too worried about that. If he's a threat, like a real threat to get you 20 points, then that is something where it changes the way that you have to defend Purdue. And I think that's the difference.
Absolutely. We'll get to CJ Cox in just a minute. One word about Memphis. They moved to 1-3, which I don't know if they've ever been 1-3 in the Penny Hardaway era, but that is sort of the downside of this, Randolph. That even though it was a super close loss and you could certainly find some valor in that, no rest for the weary as they get the juggernaut Wake Forest Demon Deacons tomorrow to try to avoid a 1-4 start. So what is this sort of juncture for Penny and Memphis? I mean, it's a brand new team, and last year they kind of came out of the gates, on fire in Maui, and it's kind of the opposite here. Where does it go from here for Penny, you think?
I just don't think this team is talented, Rob. I don't know how you feel about Memphis right now. I thought last year's team, we had high expectations of them. I thought if they were healthy come NCAA tournament time, that team could have won a couple of games. I just don't think this team is talented enough. I'd be surprised if the way they're currently constructed, if they win the American. And that's something that I would always say before, where I just thought it was a foregone conclusion that they would. And I can't say that right now.
I'm 100% with you. I think I saw you say this the other day, John. This is the worst Memphis team in the Penny era so far.
Yeah, well, the worst bigs that they've had in the Penny era. I can't say team yet, but I'm getting dangerously close.
I'll say this about it, right? I think what kind of sums up where Memphis is right now is that you're forcing yourself to have to rely on Aaron Bradshaw. And Aaron Bradshaw is a guy that is currently averaging, he was at Kentucky, then he's at Ohio State, and he's averaging a career low in points through 3 games after transferring to Memphis. And all due respect to Memphis, but if you're at Memphis after being at Kentucky and Ohio State, you probably should be putting up some more points, putting up some more numbers. And Absolutely. I think what kind of sums up what he is as a player and what his career has been. And look, I know he's young, but that dude is probably making more money right now than I'm making. And he's probably made more money in his basketball career than I'll make in 10 years. Right. So I have no problem kind of criticizing him and going hard on him. He played 9 minutes tonight in a game that Memphis really needed. He fouled out because he as a junior looks like he hasn't put on any weight at all since he got to college. Ran into a guy that is built like a brick wall, fell down, flopped, realized the flop wasn't going to work, realized he looked soft, got up, put a finger in Oscar Clough's face to try to act tough, then started getting mouthy once he got held back. Prototypical fake tough guy behavior, right? Gets a technical foul, his 5th foul of the game. At the time, Memphis was up 61-59 with 7 minutes left on the number 1 team in the country. Purdue goes and makes 2 free throws. They get possession. They take the lead. They end up winning by 9 points because they don't have their starting center. That right there sums up everything about Aaron Bradshaw's career and where he is right now, and probably why he went from Kentucky to Ohio State to Memphis as a guy that was a top 5, number 1 prospect in the country in his class. And the fact that Memphis is having to rely on that dude to be able to win games for him says everything about where Aaron Bradshaw is right now and where Memphis is right now, and that is not a good place to be.
Can't really argue with that. One thing I also can't argue with is how damn good CJ Cox was tonight. 18 points, 4 of 7 from 3. His threes weren't even touching the rim. We actually got a chance to catch up with Purdue guard CJ Cox after the win against Memphis. Take a listen. All right, we are here with Purdue guard CJ Cox after Purdue advances with an 80-71 win over Memphis in the Bahamas. CJ Cox, second best game of his career from a scoring perspective, 18 points, 4 of 7 from 3, and he's nice enough to join us now. CJ, man, congrats on the win. Just watching here in Memphis, that was a really physical game. Could you just kind of take me through just what Memphis was throwing at you guys, how chippy it got, the physicality of that game, and how good it felt to win it?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like at the beginning with their starting lineup, they definitely went bigger on us than what we expected. So just being able to be physical on the boards, get rebounds. Some of the calls didn't go our way, and a lot of guys got in early foul trouble. So even though they got into foul trouble, still being aggressive and even having the guards crash too, like me, Braden Fletcher. They were really aggressive on defense in their traps. So just being able to take care of the ball, move it, get up the court, and get into our offense. I feel like we did well on that throughout the whole game, besides like the last minute. But yeah.
CJ, Randolph Childress here, man. Question: how's this team responding every game? But you being a younger guy, you got your veteran guys on this team. Have you noticed the difference in a year from you're taking everyone's best shot from last year's team to now your preseason number 1? Are you guys feeling that every game that you're taking the best punch, and how you feel like you guys are responding to that?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like everyone's coming to beat us, knowing that we're ranked number 1 in the country. So no matter if we're playing a mid-major, low-major, or high-major team, just still going into the game, thinking to win and playing our best. And I feel like us being at number 1, it's like a lot on our shoulders. So just being able to stay calm and play well under pressure and just execute is the biggest thing for us.
Obviously, CJ, as you know, I mean, the ambition in West Lafayette is a championship. It's to win a title, and part of that, and most of that in March is like you're gonna have a weekend where, like on Friday, you may have a team that wants to run. On Sunday, you may have a team that wants to slow it down. So I'm asking you to ask. You beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa that plays that fast, up and down 3-point style. You win that game. Then you play in Memphis that clearly wanted to muck this game up and just make it tough to. How validating is it to be able to show that, hey, whatever the style is, man, we can win these kinds of games no matter what they look like?
Yeah, I feel like it's very validating because even if a team's pushing the ball fast or it's a little bit slow pace, just being able to adapt to that. When we do scouting on each team, that's something that we're very mindful of, and going into like practices and walkthroughs, just going over stuff that other teams do, and then being able to guard it and being able to figure out how to stop them from doing what they do best.
CJ, when did you know you had it going tonight? I mean, you were efficient all night long. I mean, a couple of times the ball, that late basket you got when it seemed like the ball just fell in the middle of the lane and you scooped it up with a steal and finished it to put you guys up. When did you feel like you had it going tonight? Knocking down threes, you did a little bit of everything tonight.
Yeah, I feel like I had it going once I hit like the first or second three. Coach Payne and all the coaching staff are telling me to look for my shot. Because being surrounded by Braden Fletcher and TK, there's only so many opportunities to be able to score the ball. So whenever I get that chance, to just make sure to put the shot up.
Hey, be real, man. Like they were leaving you. Like it was, and you weren't even touching the rim. So I was at home. I was surprised they kept leaving you. At any point where you're like, is anybody come out here and meet me in the corner? Like, what was going through your mind when you were that open?
Yeah, I feel like most teams, like when they scout, like I'm not really as wide open as I was this game. So I'm glad that they were sagging off a little bit. So
you saying they wasn't scouting right?
That's crazy.
Somebody made a mistake in the film room, apparently.
Maybe.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, congratulations. Obviously, Purdue will get the winner of Wake Forest and Texas Tech in the championship game. CJ Cox, second career high in scoring 18 points tonight, 47 from three. Purdue moves on. CJ, appreciate the time, man. Congrats.
Yep. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Congrats. Sir.
So that was one side of the Baja Mar with Purdue moving on to the championship game. The other side, Texas Tech. Pulls out a really close one, close to the entire game, 84-83 win over Wake Forest. JT Toppin finishes with 21, 9, and 4 to help Texas Tech get the win. And I believe he joins us now. Do we have JT with us now? JT, what's going on, man? Congrats on the win.
Sure, appreciate it. It's good.
Hey, so that was that was just a battle for all 40 minutes. Wake Forest takes the lead there on a Miles Colvin 3. You guys answer, tie it up, and obviously get the job done in the end. What gives your guys confidence that, in a close game like that, it's going to come down to possession, that, you guys are going to be able to finish it and close it out?
I just keep like trying to tell them to stay together and we can win this game. Like as long as we stay together and get stops, because defense wins games, that we can win the game. So really just telling them that defense wins games and staying together.
JT, Randolph Childress here, man. I'm a Wake Forest alum. I'm so mad with you right now. I don't even know what to do, man. I'm just being honest with you. Now, 21-9, man, great performance. I think the most impressive thing about your game is your ability to pass out of the double teams. I mean, that was really your vision, and your ability to pass is tremendous, and I think it changed everything. I thought the game flipped, and I thought you guys took back control of the game in the second half. Once you stopped playing in the post, and then they flashed you in the middle and started playing more. Are you more comfortable playing in the post, or do you feel like you're more comfortable playing at that short roll in the middle?
Probably in the short roll in the middle, because in the post I know I'm gonna get double, so like it's kind of I gotta pass it out there. So really just the short roll, being able to make plays for my teammates or that touch float is my go-to.
Yeah, JT, this is Rob Dauster. I am not a Wake Forest alum, but I do look really good in this hat. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm curious about kind of the process in the off season for you, right? When you decide to come back to school and you know that you're going to kind of be the focal point of what this team is, how do you work towards getting ready for this year? Because obviously you started out first 3 games, you're averaging 24, you had 21-9 tonight. What did you do in this offseason to be able to get ready for this year?
Just stay in the gym, just really being consistent with my workouts because I was never really a workout guy. So really just being more in the workouts and just mentally getting ready for this year because I knew I was going to be on the top of the scout. So really just working out and just staying consistent.
Obviously, JT, it's a quick turnaround tomorrow with Purdue. You know, in that championship game, they're a massive team. I don't know how much time you've had to scout them, but the good news is, I guess, is that their team is pretty much the same from last year. So, what kind of challenge does that Purdue team present?
Just the physicality, as they're very physical. They got a lot of depth too, so it's gonna be a challenge, but we're gonna take it. We want to take it. We're ready.
JT, I got one last question for me. How much have you paid attention to? You hear all this the national news about the freshmen, and everyone's kind of anointing these guys as the face of college basketball. How do you feel about that personally? Because do you feel like you've been slighted a little bit? Because to me, you shouldn't be considered just a Big 12 player of the year. You should be in the running for national player of the year. But it seems like that title's been handed to a lot of freshmen. Is that kind of a motivating thing for you?
Yeah, you could say that. I don't really get into stuff like that. Like I'm just trying to win games, man. I don't really care about stuff like that. So as long as my team winning, I'm good.
When you made the decision to come back to Texas Tech, it felt like that was like a day out. I don't know what the exact date was, but it felt like it was about a day after the season ended. What is it about Grant McCasland? What is it about the staff? What is it about Lubbock and Texas Tech that made you say, this is the place that I want to be? I don't care if I might get drafted. I don't care if there's other places for me where that might throw money at me in the portal. I belong at Texas Tech.
Tell them the truth, that check.
Nah, that check definitely helped. Not gonna lie, the check just helped. But just the fact that Grant is very trustworthy, tells you the truth, and he just pushed you to be your best every day. And Coach Buff, I already knew him when I was younger. I used to play in his tournaments for my AAU team. So like just the connections I had here, just knowing Buff already, and just being from Dallas, just being 5 hours away from home, it just felt like a great fit. And the fans, from the alumni to the students, they're amazing. So that's really what gravitated me to staying at Tech.
Because you knew you were going to the Bahamas too, right? You wanted to make sure you got that trip.
Yeah, for sure. Had to make sure I had this trip.
So am I pulling off that or what? What do you think? Does it work? Am I looking good?
Fire.
There you go. Playing for the championship in the Bahamas and Markets, #1 ranked Purdue. JT, appreciate the time as always, man. Thanks.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Good luck, man.
Here's JT Toppin, big man for Texas Tech, 84-83 win over Wake Forest. We will talk about that. I don't know if controversial is the right word. It was very heated at the end. Randolph's throwing his hat. Steve Forbes is in the ref's face. I mean, it was just a very, very heated game at the end. So we're gonna let RC take a swig of that water. We'll come back. We'll break it down. You're watching Field 68 After Dark.
As you know by now, we have teamed up with BetMGM again this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we will have special offers for Field of 68 fans, including same-game parlays, best-in-class live betting, and daily odds boost. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD to get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. You download the BetMGM app. You sign up using bonus code FIELD. You deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use that bonus code FIELD when you sign up. Make this college basketball season one for the history books. Make it legendary. And don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. With media days and on-site events the last 2 months, travel for me has been crazy. Luckily, I had Huel. This month, Huel launched in Target stores nationwide. Both of their ready-to-drink products are now available. The Black Edition has 35 grams of protein, 27 essential vitamins and minerals, no artificial sweeteners, and is gluten-free for under $5 a meal. The Daily Greens edition, which I have here peach hibiscus flavored, was developed by registered nutritionists and dietitians with 42 vitamins and minerals and superfoods with just 25 calories, 4 grams of fiber, and only 1 gram of sugar. When you're busy with work, travel, children, and just life in general, Huel makes sneaking in meals quick, easy, and most importantly, healthy. Pick them up in Target stores nationwide, or if you're a first-time customer, get 15% off your purchase with the promo code F68 at Huel. That's HUEL.com/F68.
All right, welcome back to Field of 68 After Dark here on a Thursday, November 20th edition of the show. 2/3 of this panel are need consoling in the consolation bracket. We already had to do mine, and we're about to do Randolph Childress's, I don't know, autopsy or whatever you call this after this loss. But Texas Tech does win 84-83 over Wake Forest. Great game. I mean, I will say that. Wake Forest came into this game as a 9.5-point underdog, I believe, at close. So played much closer than the market expected, but Texas Tech does get the job done again, thanks to, in large part, JT Toppin, who we just talked to, 21-9-4, and that's kind of the way it goes, right? That's a big-ticket player. It's a big-money player, Rob Dauster, and he did big-ticket things tonight against this Wake Forest front line.
Yeah, he did. Is it crazy to say that I came away from that game a little bit more impressed with Wake Forest than I was with Texas Tech? I already had expectations for Texas Tech. I think I had them top 8 in the country in the preseason. They go on the road. They go toe-to-toe with an Illinois team that I'm very, very high on already. I kind of came out of this game saying, like, Texas Tech has some dudes, man. Like, Juke Harris is an absolute stud. Miles Colvin, like, there's some athleticism there that we're talking about how Purdue might not necessarily have athletes. Like, you're looking at him being like, he was on that team? What just happened there? Trayvon Spillers went up and caught like 3 lobs. I was really impressed with Wake. We'll talk about them in a second. When it comes to Texas Tech, it feels like they have 2 studs and then a bunch of guys that are just trying to make sure they get the job done, right? And it feels like that's what Grant McCasland wanted to do in the way that he wanted to kind of build his roster, right? Like, he wanted the star point guard. He wanted to make sure that he had JT Toppin around there. I feel like you need to get more consistent stuff out of Lawan Watson, Donovan Atwell. And I know Donovan was in a little bit of foul trouble, but if you're only getting 1 for 9 out of Lawan Watson, you're only getting 9 points out of Atwell, like those are the 2 guys where I think you need to get more out of them, especially on the defensive end of the floor. Now, Wake is kind of a tough matchup because of the size and the length and the athleticism they have across their perimeter. But I was a little bit underwhelmed with what we saw with Texas Tech, particularly defensively. It felt like every time I turned around, Wake is getting like turning the corner. Wake is like bodying somebody and finishing it above the rim and dunking on people. I thought there was a lot of stuff. When Grant McCasland watches that tape, he's going to have a lot of stuff to be able to show his guys about how you have to get better on the defensive end of the floor.
Rob, my issue wasn't as much as their effort defensively. I think Wake guards are better than people are giving credit for. I think the depth of Wake Forest guards can play with anybody. I think where Wake struggles is getting front court production. Like, where is that coming from? They ended up Omaha Blue. They just sat in the second half. I don't know how much he played, and he hasn't given them a whole lot. I mean, Juke Harris is a pro. I mean, let's call it what it is. He's a stud. He'll be that, 26 and 10 tonight. They'll go as far as the production they can get out of the front court, and I think at some point Wake's going to have to find someone that can help them close games at the end of games. They're going to have to be able to put the ball in someone's hands to be able to make plays for them down the stretch, because I don't think Coach Steve Forbes can just call plays and script everything. I thought Texas Tech did a really good job of trying to fight through the screens. I thought where they made mistakes was they were having some horrendous turnovers. Like, some of the turnovers was just like, what are you guys doing? I mean, they had the momentum of this game. They had a double-digit, they had this game up to 11, 12 points. I thought they made the mistake in the first half where Wake was ready to kind of let this thing get away from him, and then Wake closes the half, and part of that was JT Top got foul trouble. And then once he sat down with the 2 fouls, then Wake kind of came back in the game, and then they got a little confidence. But with the scheme that they run and the guards that they have, and you're playing drop coverage, you're not going to stay in front of really good guards playing drop coverage. I thought they did a good job trying to fight, get back in front. Where I thought they hurt themselves, though, was disappointing to see was I thought they were just sloppy with the ball and had some turnovers that had some some head scratchers and some of the turnovers. So Wake guards are really tough to deal with in that aspect. So that part of the defensive effort didn't bother me as much.
And I will say about Wake too, they are probably 4 points away from being ranked in the top 10 or top 15, right? Like they lost to Michigan by 1 in overtime, and Michigan is a top 10 team,
Right.
and they lost to Texas Tech by 1 here in a game where, like, if you execute that 3-on-1 fast break where I think they tried to throw a lob and someone slipped, and I'm still
Dude, we
trying
ain't
to
got to bring that up right now. Like, seriously, we don't need to bring that up. Right? I got a headache just even talking about it.
You close out those 2 games, and we are having a very, very different conversation about Wake. Now, obviously, like, those are the 4 most important points that you can have in that situation. The 2 points that take you from losing by 1 to winning by 1, right? Yeah. But that's how close they are right now to having the kind of resume that puts them in the top 15. And I think, to your point, RC, like, Nate Calmeese is really, really good, man. I'm very high on you mentioned Juke Harris, but Miles Colvin was terrific tonight. He's really athletic. He can make some threes. I think they got switchable pieces. I thought Cooper Schweiger had a couple plays tonight where he drove past JT Toppin and dunked on him. And that was not something that I was expecting from that Cooper. The other Cooper, Flag, yes, maybe. Cooper Schweiger, I figured he was more of like a jump stop, pivot, jump hook kind of a guy than a drive by you and dunk through you kind of a guy. So I'm in on Wake Forest. Like, I think Wake Forest, the hard part for them now, RC, like, it's probably too early to have like the NCAA tournament discussion and all of that. But the hard part for them is their non-conference stuff now is Memphis, Oklahoma, West Virginia, and Vanderbilt. They get Memphis on a neutral. They get West Virginia semi-away. I think that one is played in Charleston in West Virginia. But you're kind of betting on, like, you need Vanderbilt. You need to beat Vanderbilt at home. And 2, you need Vanderbilt to be as good as they are in KenPom right now. Vanderbilt is number 12 in the KenPom rankings. And if you don't do that, like, you play at North Carolina and you play at Duke. And I think that's it for the 2 teams at the top of the conference. You get Louisville at home. Maybe you can make that happen. You play NC State twice. There's not a ton of meat left on that bone when it comes to quality wins. Like, I think without a doubt, Wake Forest is good enough to be a tournament team, but missing on those 2 games might have them in a situation where it's a little bit more difficult to put together a tournament resume. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree with it's basically what they've been in that aspect, right? They've put themselves in position. Certain games you can look at this schedule and go, they need to win these games. The only thing I'll say is that the ACC will be better than it's been in recent years.
Absolutely.
So they'll get quality games. There's teams that we're not discussing that you and I, Rob, have discussed, like Virginia Tech and other teams that'll eventually climb up the ranks and then be really good.
Syracuse, Virginia.
Yeah, Syracuse, Virginia, those teams. That stuff will work itself out. I think the biggest glaring need that Wake's going to have to overcome is their lack of size, and they're going to be a little bit predictable they have to double the post, right? It doesn't really matter who it is. They're going to have to double the post. Their guards have to play well. It's what kind of production are they going to get out of their frontline guys? Like, what are they going to get that they can count on night in and night out from the 4 and the 5? I just don't know. And I think Spillers plays his tail off. He battles, man, but he's an undersized big. He's scrapping. He's constantly in foul trouble because of that. I worry about them offensive rebounding, production on the frontline guys, and the other thing is closing games. After a while, it becomes psychological. You get in these games, you're in these enough. You got to figure out a way to close games, and they're struggling with that. So that's something that goes beyond just these 2 losses, right? That goes into last year. So they're going to have to tighten up and finish games and get on the road. They'll have plenty of more opportunities to do it, but again, games like this that's going to matter in March, for your resume, that they got to take care of business. And to your point, I don't know how many more they're going to have left.
We're really excited here on the Field of 68 to announce that we're debuting a new show. It's called Field of 68 After Dark, and our first show is going to be Randolph and I previewing the consolation bracket of the Baja Mar. And so that's going to air at 3:45 a.m. You don't want to miss that. But there is a winner side of this, and I wanted to make sure we hit this before we went to break, Rob. Purdue, Texas Tech. I mean, I'm assuming I haven't seen any numbers out yet. I saw some KenPom. It's around 3, Purdue by 3. How much of a war is this game going to be tomorrow for both of these teams?
I think it's going to be less of a war than it is a shootout. All right. Like, I don't know how either of these teams stop each other. I think JT Toppin is going to go to work against Oscar Clough and Daniel Jacobson, right? He's so good, man. When he gets over that right shoulder and he gets to that left hand, it goes in every single fucking time. And it's not like the prettiest thing that you've ever seen. And it's not like he's taking the most efficient shots in the world. He just doesn't fucking miss. And it's got to be so frustrating to play. I can imagine when you're Illinois and he made like 11 straight shots to start the second half against them. I can imagine how frustrating that is to deal with that guy. And I just don't think, like, all due respect to Oscar Clough and Daniel Jacobson, I think that's a very, very difficult matchup for him. And then on the other side, like, Lawan Watts, is that who are you putting on Trakoff and Wren, right? Do you put JT Toppin on him and let one of your, like, kind of big wings try to deal with Oscar Clough on the offensive glass? Do you put Lawan Watts on TKR? Like, I just don't know. I don't know who stops who in this game. This game feels like the kind of game that's going to end up being like 102 to 101 on 63 possessions, because all they do is they score every single time. Both teams are going to shoot 83% from the floor. Everyone's going to be getting layups or wide open threes. I don't know how they stop each other. And those are the kind of games that I think are the most fun to watch, where it's back and forth and punch and punch and punch. Not the kind of punches that some players that got ejected today would throw.
Yeah, the one that Oscar Clough just flagrantly threw at Aaron Bradshaw that everybody saw. I mean, it was just egregious. I mean, I think that needs to be, investigated criminally. RC, do you have a prediction for the game tomorrow, since Rob didn't want to give us one?
I'll give you a prediction. Purdue. RC, go first.
Yeah, I think Purdue closes it out. I think they're a little disappointed out their performance today. I expect Smith to respond. I think JT Toppin will struggle a little bit with the length of Oscar Clough. I think his length and him standing between the rim will give him some issues. And I don't know who guards Trey Kaufman-Renn. And I think he'll respond tomorrow.
All right, Rob, what do you got?
I think Purdue wins. I'm checking right now to see if they have a lineup on BetMGM yet, and I am not seeing it posted yet. But if the line ends up being 3, like it is on KenPom right now, I'll take Purdue to cover. I will take the over in what looks like it's projected to be somewhere around 155 or so, John. So give me the over. Give me Purdue. Right. And I think that we see a performance from the Boilermakers that reminds everybody that why this team deserves to be in the national title #1 team in the country conversation.
Well, then you need to take that damn hat off. All right. You can't over here picking Purdue in a Texas Tech hat.
He forgot.
Bring your own juice, John. Bring your own juice.
He's so busy giving me crap. He picking Purdue with a Texas Tech hat on.
Oh, both sides, Bobby.
I look good in that,
Unbelievable.
I look good in that.
All right. We're going to see just how much we need to panic, as our president might say, panikins. How many of those do we have on this show tonight in college basketball? We're going to touch on that when we get back. Field of 68 after dark.
If you're not a member of the Field of 68's On3 community, make sure to go check us out. Get access to all of Jeff Goodman and Rob Dauster's written content, including coaching carousel breakdowns, info on who is and isn't entering the transfer portal, insider recruiting information from none other than Joe Tipton, X's and O's analysis of all the teams in college basketball, and access to our message board community. A 7-day trial costs you $1. The Field of 68 On3. Get the scoop.
Are you trying to follow everything happening in college basketball? It can be overwhelming. That's where the Field of 68 Daily comes into play. The Daily is your go-to source for recruiting news, game analysis, portal updates, and much, much more. For just $50 a year, you get access to the same information that your favorite coaching staff is subscribed to. Quality content can be hard to find in the college basketball space. The Daily is here to help. Make sure you subscribe today.
Welcome back, Field of 68 After Dark here on Thursday, November 20th edition of the show. John Martin joined tonight by Rob Dauster, Randolph, Childress. Super busy night in college basketball. We love those. Number one team in action. Got the Bahamas championship set there in the Baja Mar. And anything we haven't touched on, because I know it's been pretty heavy on those two games, I assume we'll touch on in the afters. And since Rob is here, we know that that will go about 45 minutes to 3 hours. But until we do that, let's do a little.
Gotta make
segment
you earn your check, John.
That's right. I know. It's like when you do the show with the boss, it's like you got to really button it up. There's no question about that. But let's do the panic meter. Let's do a little panic meter here as we go around the country. And there's certainly some teams and leagues that deserve to be judged here. There's no question about it. But Rob, let's start with Kentucky on a scale. And we do a 1 through 10 scale here. We keep it pretty simple. On a scale from 1 to 10, how worried are you about this Kentucky team?
Probably about a 9.5. I think that there's a lot of red flags around there right now. I think the effort and the fight when they kind of get hit in the face, happening against Louisville, happening against Michigan State, was not something that was very promising. I don't think the pieces fit together all that well. And I think that with Jalen Lowe, it's another one of those RC. We talked about this a lot last year with Lamont Butler.
Right.
Shoulders don't get better until you get surgery. And he could play through it, and he could be like 85% of what he is playing through it, or you can get surgery and shut it down. Neither of those are good options for Kentucky as a program. I'm very, very worried about them. I think that there's a world where they can turn this thing around, especially if they get Jaden Quaintance back. But I thought that this was like a top 8 team in the country in the preseason, and I think they're much closer to being like a top 25, top 20, top 25 kind of a team than a real national title contender.
RC?
For me, you can go as high as you want. It's say 10. My concern with Kentucky is, one, Mark Pope is probably the most positive person I'd ever met as a coach. Coming into it's following a legend and one of the most high-profile positions and jobs there was, and he's the most positive. To see him how he was after that game, I can't shake that. The pieces, like we talked about, they don't fit where I don't think from the system that he brought in, that he had at BYU and that he brought in, this personnel, they're not great shooters. They're volume shooters. That's not going to work. I don't see how that works. They'll have a game, of course, where they're making shots. I think the biggest thing that'll make me lower my decision or my thought process with them will be, does he do anything drastic? Because low and shoulder injuries, they're going to be what they are. At some point, I don't know how much more he's going to be able to give. That's going to be an interesting scenario. And Quaintance coming back, Rob, I'm always leery of athletes coming back during the season. And that's what he is. He's not like he's a bucket. He's an athlete. That offensive game plan is offense is evolving. That's catching up to him. So him trying to come back to the season will help, because I think he can help anchor some of the defensive issues and give them rim protection as well. But I wonder where the offense is going to come from.
He's also like he's not coming back from a sprained ankle or a jammed finger.
No, that's
he's
my
coming
point.
back from
that's my point.
major invasive knee surgery.
Right, he's coming back from an ACL for a guy that was an elite athlete at his size. Like he was an elite athlete. And I don't know if people really understand how much of an athlete he was or he is, and he needs time to come back from that. Right, the pressures of, like, if he was a normal kid without the pressures and the expectations of being the NBA, I'd be like, man, sit the year out. There's no reason for you to rush back for this. Just sit the whole year out. Make sure you're clear, you're healthy. But I know what he's playing for, so. There's nothing that I've seen from this team that makes me think that his piece is going to fit. Now, again, I want to see, is Mark Pope going to say to someone, hey, that lack of fight that we saw coming from Michigan State, and I thought, Rob, Norm's interview you guys had with him afterwards, I think was just so spot on. Like I think you should just send that out again because I thought Norm was so right about Kentucky. It's like you're going to be able to go into practice and just clear the court and just be like, hey, we're going to hoop. And if it doesn't happen, a fight may break out. That's okay because he's got to figure out who's in because the way they play has to change. They got to be tougher than that. I mean, they got punked. And that's not something you're accustomed to seeing at Kentucky where they're not overly talented than everyone else. They're not just going to walk out there on the court and just be that much better than everybody else. So if they're not going to
Well,
compete
it's got to,
against a team
yeah,
like
it's got to
that,
be
then
an
they're
effort
going
thing for them.
to be an effort
Especially
thing.
when you got the athletes that they have. It's got to be an effort thing. And if you're not going to play with effort, like, get the fuck out. You know, this isn't going to, it's not going to work here.
That's what
Go
Mark
find
Gross is
something else.
essentially going to say. And we're going to see what happens. Like, I will completely flip my opinion on Kentucky if somebody's benched. Like you saw today with Steve Forbes and Omaha Blue. It's like, you know, when you started, you had fouled, you didn't give me nothing in the first half. You won't touch the floor second half, man. Go down there and sit down.
Mm-hmm.
And if that happens, then I'm like, okay, then I can see it. Like I want to see somebody just be like, you know what? Until you start playing hard, I don't care what your NIL money is. Sit your ass on the end of the bench. Until that happens, then I would be worried if I was a Wildcat fan.
It ain't Mark's money.
It's Rob's.
Who else we going?
It ain't Mark's money that's being spent.
All right. Let's move on from the $22 million roster that we're supposed to get the world's smallest violin out for. Kansas without Darren Peterson. What's our panic meter for them?
I mean, it's high, right? Like if you don't have the guy that might be the number
If
one,
you
overall
don't
pick,
have him,
that's
but they're
probably-
gonna have him. His is a hamstring, right?
Yeah,
He's
that's
not
probably a
gonna be
problem.
gone.
Well,
I don't.
Kansas, I think, is the idea here.
I would rather. So I think my guess is that he's being held out right now over an abundance of caution because it is a hamstring. That is the sense that I got at the Champions Classic. It's not that this is like if Tuesday night was the Sweet 16, I think that Darren Peterson probably would have played. I think what they're trying to do, like, you know how it is with hamstrings, man. Like that's the kind of thing that can get better with rest, but if you push it, that can turn into something where you're out for, instead of being like a day or two, you need to rest it. You could be out for like a month or two. It could be a season ending kind of a strain. So I think that they're just trying to say like, listen, we don't want this guy to be done for the year. We're going to take the hit now. We're going to let some of our other guys kind of get blooded a little bit. We're going to see what Trey White's got. We're going to see what Melvin Council's got. We're going to, see if Bryson Tiller can show some aggressiveness. Let Darren Peterson get to 110% and then figure it out. With him, I mean, I guess the panic meter with Darren Peterson would be like, what is your baseline expectation for Kansas?
Yeah,
if you think that are they going to win the Big 12? If that's where the panic meter thing is going to be, yes, I'm pretty panicked because Houston looks pretty fucking good and Arizona looks pretty fucking good. But if your baseline is like this team can get to the second weekend, then I think with Darren Peterson, this is probably a second weekend team, right? Like some of those guys figure some things out. Like they didn't look all that bad against Duke, and Trey White was solid, and Bryson Tiller's getting more aggressive, and Darren Peterson's a guy that could quite literally average 25 points a game when he comes back. So I'm not overly concerned with Kansas if you're considering them like a top 15 kind of a team this year.
With Darren Peterson, then the sky's the limit in a sense because how many games are they going to play where he's not the best player on the floor?
Right.
Probably
very few.
Probably zero.
If any.
You know what I mean? Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I say if he's healthy, then they got a chance. Once they're in, they got a chance because there's not many games. You're talking about probably the number one pick in the draft, and like I said, there's not many games when healthy he's not the best player on the floor. So as long as they got him, they got a shot. Without him, they're going to struggle to score. You're talking about a guy that's going to give him 20 a game and creating for others and everything. His impact is going to be 30+ points a game. So I don't have without him. They're not. They're not. It's not going to happen. They're not going to finish in the top half. They're not competing for the league. Big 12 championship. They're not doing any of that. With him, you got a puncher's chance because, like I said, he'll be, 9 times out of 10, he'll be the most talented player, best player on the floor.
All right, moving right along here, Rob. The Big East, your backyard. You got You got a mess. You got to clean up your yard.
Let's go,
man. The
Rob.
neighbors
Let's see what you
start to
got on
call
the Big East,
code
baby.
enforcement on you. Arizona comes into your place and just dogs you out. Unbelievable.
What is? Hold on. What is code enforcement? You mean the HOA? Called the HOA?
No, like there's
it?
like cities. You know, again, I don't know how it works anywhere other than the South, but you know, we have code enforcement here in Memphis. So they come out and say, hey, you know, you get a complaint, they stick something on your door, and you got to address the issue.
We got HOAs around here that do that kind of stuff, and the HOA president in my neighborhood doesn't respond to emails, doesn't respond to calls, doesn't respond to texts. So I don't think that he cares. So we do whatever that we want around here. Why don't you
curse at him on the show? Why don't you drop another F-bomb and direct it right at him?
I'm not going to do that because I just got a new fence without running it by the HOA president. So I got to keep my man on my good side.
All right, the Big East itself. How panicked are you about the Big East?
What's the scale that we're doing again?
It's just 1 to 10.
27.
Damn.
I feel like this has been a few years running now, though. By the way, like you,
man, there's some build up right here. Get it off your chest, Rob. We're here to listen, brother. Get it off your chest.
No, it's the biggest problem with the conference right now is that the two teams that we kind of expected to take a big leap under the new coaching regimes that they have kind of slowly gotten there, right? Like Providence just lost at Colorado and does not look like the team that I thought they were going to be this season. Georgetown might be, but like a win over a Maryland team that struggled to beat Mount St. Mary's at home and a win over a Clemson team that like might make the tournament is good, but it's a good start, right? And if that's the third best team you got in your conference, we're in a difficult spot. Like Creighton, I think they'll probably turn it around once you get to tournament play, but they got absolutely dog walked by Gonzaga. Marquette has all kinds of issues going on right now. Xavier has all kinds of issues going on right now. DePaul is DePaul. Like, thankfully, Seton Hall is carrying the torch for this conference. Like, where would the Big East be right now, Randolph, if it was not for Seton Hall? A Seton Hall Pirates, baby. 6-0. 5-0. No, but like, and then Villanova, like they're. I think Willard will get that thing going. I don't think it's going to be this season that he'll get it going to the level you need to get it going. So if you have two teams that look like they can be championship contenders that are not playing like championship contenders yet, and UConn and St. John's, and then you have teams that should be tournament teams in Villanova, Creighton, Marquette, Georgetown, and Providence based on the pedigree of those programs, and none of them really look like tournament teams. We're counting on Butler to turn this thing around. Like I think Butler's actually got a chance to be sneaky good this year. But if Butler and Georgetown are the two programs that are fighting for third best in your conference, like your conference got a lot of stuff going on right now that's not probably ideal for the world of college basketball.
Rob, how many do you think they get in the tournament if you had to right now?
I think it'll be 3. I think you're going to get UConn and St. John's, and somebody else will get in. I'm not sure who that somebody else will be, but I think it'll be 3. And you remember, I think it was – I don't think so. I'm worried about them, man. Like Marquette's whole thing is like we guard. Like we're going to guard no matter what happens.
If they can't turn you over, if they can't turn you over and get it, you know, a ton of offense that way, and that's hard to do against good teams. They did it. They did that for a segment yesterday against Dayton, and they ended up losing in overtime. Man, they've dropped 2 in a row, and they've got to figure that thing out quickly.
And I will say about them, like long-term big picture, I think that this is just kind of like years ago, there would always be years where you had a bump in the road, right? When transferring wasn't a thing, you'd always have years where there was a bump in the road where you just lost like a generation of stars from your program. You got a bunch of freshmen and sophomores that are going to end up being really good, but they need to figure out how to be able to get there when they're upperclassmen, juniors, and seniors. Like, I think that's where Marquette is right now. So I think in the future, if you look at the guys that are freshmen and sophomores on that program right now, they got a lot of talent, a lot of length, a lot of athleticism, a lot of promise, but they're 4-year guys. They're not one and done, 2 and done kind of players. So Shaka's bringing them in to get them ready for next year. And he doesn't have the Cam Jones, the Tyler Kolek, the Oso Iguodala's right now. And that would, in a normal era of college basketball, that would be fine. But in the Big East, where it's down a little bit, where everybody has expectations to make the tournament every season, where you can flip it if you go to the portal and want to recruit over some of those freshmen you bring in, then you can do it. Shaka's not doing that. You're going to have down seasons. If you do that, this is going to be one of those down seasons. If they stick with him, I think it'll be fine long-term in 27, 28, 26, 27 down the road. It's just going to be a bumpy 25, 26.
Hey, man.
You know what?
Call me. Call me, man. We can make a deal, man. You need a tournament team. Call me.
You know what I'd add to that? I was surprised, and I thought the Big East would, as a league, not individual programs like St. John and UConn. I thought as a league with the settlement, I thought the league would implode. Explode. I just thought they would take off, and it would just be, like those were the jobs that people be racing to, that they'd be flush with so much money because of, the lack of football, the lack of money you would think they spend on football. And, when you make calls and you check around, it's just not like that. They're not just flooding, a lot of these programs with cash. And I think the ones with the most money, like a lot of other conferences, will be the ones that'll make the NCAA tournament. And I think right now it'll be St. John, it'll be UConn, and probably Georgetown.
Well, the question is going to be for the Big East is when you get to, like, I think this year, the hard part about evaluating the Big East based on rev share is that everybody did stuff before rev share really became rev share, right? Like, all these kids got paid, the deals got done in April and May, so they get them their money, and then you can get to rev share, and you could do all this stuff before, but like your grandfather into paying them, more or less, right? I think moving forward is when it'll get interesting. The question is going to be these schools that have the deep pockets, how many of them are going to stick to what is legal by NCAA rules and what is, hey, you know what, here, we got some extra cash for you. We're not going to run this NIL deal through Deloitte or whoever is evaluating these things. We're just going to pay you like they did back in the day before NIL was NIL, when NIL
like everybody's still doing today. Like they're still
doing
today.
That's all it's going to end up being. So like this idea that you're going to have more rev share. Yeah, you might have more rev share, but the SEC still has duffel bags full of cash, and that's going to them as these NIL deals that don't go through Deloitte. Like that's what it's going to end up being. And that's why the Big East programs are going to end up being in a little bit of trouble.
All right, let's get the toast of the night. RC, we're going to start with you.
I got to go with the D killer of the night, man. JT Toppin. Joined the show tonight and hurt my D. Crushed me.
Shout out.
Shout out to JT Toppin.
So if tonight wasn't bad enough for John Martin, right? Like, we saw a Memphis team that was so good and so much fun last year get hurt and go out early in the tournament. We saw them lose everybody from that program and have to start over. We saw them have to try to build around former McDonald's All-Americans that weren't necessarily the kind of guys that you want to build a program around. And then you had to see tonight, on the night where you almost beat the number one team in the country, you had to see your All-American last year, PJ Haggerty, at Kansas State, go for 37 points, 8 assists, and 7 rebounds as the Wildcats knocked off Mississippi State. John, my toast of the night goes to not PJ Haggerty. My toast of the night goes to you, because I know you need about 4 or 5 of these cold ones right here to be able to get through, man. I'm sorry.
That is crazy. What's crazy is I was actually going to do that. I was going to be a bigger person. I was going to give a toast to PJ Haggerty. So you did that for me. So I will look. I think in many ways he probably, it's working out for him. They're 5-0. He's putting up huge numbers. I think he would have made more money in the end at Memphis, but he's fine. He still got paid, and the team is performing quite well. So
it was never about money for him, John. It was about love. Where can you fall in love with basketball?
It was about playing in Kansas State, at Kansas State in Manhattan, Kansas. There's no question about it. I don't hold any ill will towards him, though, whatsoever. He came to Memphis. He balled out. He was a second-team All-American. He led Memphis to a 5 seed. Like, I got no problems with PJ Haggerty today. So, all right, listen, we're going to head to the afters. Thanks for hanging with us here on Field of 68 After Dark. Rob Dauster, Randolph, Childress, John Martin. We're headed over to the afters. Join us there.
These my DJ Burns shades I had for
That was like taking them into the depths of Alaska and just dropping them off.
The first person that's gonna die gotta be one of the black guys. We're not gonna make it to the end of the movie.
That's like asking somebody, do they want to get a prostate exam or a damn gunshot wound?
Well, I mean, that was an insane baseball slide there.
I haven't seen Goodman slide yet. I was not ready for that. I was not ready for that. I forgot about
That was Goodman, man.
Last year, after the opening day showcase, I think we bet Goodman that he couldn't like do a lap around the court or do an up back. Yes, I did. That was after they had brought us a couple of cold beverages. We bet him that he couldn't do an up back in a certain amount of time, and to be able to cover it, he slid into the baseline like he was sliding into the
fall. That was Sioux Falls, right?
Fucking suit, man, in a suit. Oh, that was so funny. I forgot about that.
I was like, is that Ellie De La Cruz there? I mean, who is that unbelievable athlete there?
Yeah, that's the worst slide you'll ever see.
That's
probably Rich's draws when he
the
got
suit
up.
coat.
He
The
looked
suit
like
coat
he
just
hurt
flapping in the breeze. The suit coat was just flapping in the breeze.
That's too good. That's too good.
Always underwear
John
when he
Martin,
did that.
Randolph, Childress, Rob Dauster here tonight. All right, Dagan, what you got for us, man?
Yeah, fellas, I got two quick things for you. Obviously, Rob just mentioned it is toast. PJ Haggerty's big night. Let's talk about the game. Mississippi State, Kansas State. Kansas State with a huge win in that one. Just kind of your thoughts on the game and kind of the Wildcats here. Sneaky good.
5-0.
Hey, I'll give you my thoughts on it. I think that Kansas State has a chance to really make a little bit of noise here. I think that Tang has found a roster that he can kind of work with again, right? Like I think you need a little bit of buy-in, but you also need a little bit of an acceptance that like you got a couple studs and then you got a bunch of guys around those studs. And I think PJ Haggerty this year is the guy that he's building everything around. And I think he's got a bunch of players around him that are kind of bought into that idea that we have a superstar and we're going to win because these guys are going to do a job around the superstar. And you're not going to have people button heads and you're not going to have arguments about whether or not you're playing the right position. And I think the roster is put together a little bit better. I think Abdi Bashir was a really big pickup because he's got size and length and shooting ability. And we mentioned Akron earlier, RC. Nate Johnson is a certified stud coming in from Akron. I think he was the player of the year and defensive player of the year in the MAC last season.
And listen, first of all, starting with PJ Haggerty, he's a dude. You know, we're talking about an All-American. He's a dude. And of all the guard play and all the freshmen in the national talk, he's another one of those guys. He just doesn't get enough credit for what he is. And he's gone over 30 a couple of times. It was absolutely a 37 tonight. I mean, that's crazy. Kansas State's going to be able to score. We're going to see how they respond when PJ struggles some, you know, and where their offense is going to come from when he does struggle. But they seem to be put together, like you said. The pieces fit a lot better this year than they did last year.
Does he struggle? Has he ever struggled? Like he might go down if he stays this year and next year. He's going to like make a push to be one of the all-time leading scorers in college basketball because he averaged 21 as a freshman. He averaged 21 as a sophomore. He's averaging like over 27 points per game right now. I don't think that is going to continue, but I think he's going to be like a 24, 25 point per game guy because his usage rate right now is like 34.1. They are just
and the thing is he's always been efficient, Rob. I think that's the thing about him is that he's not a high 30% guy. I mean, he's a damn near 50% scorer. Like that's why he scores so much because he's efficient as hell, man. He gets to his spots. He's a volume guy, but he gets to his spots, man, and he's a legit All-American.
Because he's so good at getting into the lane, and it's like the jump stop and the pump fake and jump into someone and draw foul. He doesn't take tough shots. Instead of taking tough shots, he makes you foul him, right? Instead of getting to the point where you're like taking a fadeaway, he finds a way to be able to get you to jump into him so he can get to the line. We're 5 games into the season. He's taking 51 free throws. There's guys that don't take 51 free throws that start and play 30 minutes a game. They don't take 51 free throws in an entire season.
Real quick, I want to mention the other side of this. Mississippi State up there for the one of the early disappointments of this college basketball season. They're sitting there at 2-2. They got blown out in their two meaningful games this year, Iowa State and tonight. Started the season at KenPom 28. They're all the way down at 62. Their offense has fallen off a cliff from last year, despite bringing back Josh Hubbard. I mean, look, they play in the SEC, so they've certainly got time to make this up. But I mean, that's already a 34 spot drop for Chris Jan's team, and I just think they were 2-point favorites tonight. They got to be really disappointed, Rob, about their start to this year at 2-2.
They definitely lost the Ashore PJ Haggerty trade, right? I mean, it comes down to this, right?
Yep.
Kansas State.
Yep.
Kansas State.
Nobody that traded with Kansas State. And really, it was more like Memphis traded with Kansas State. PJ Haggerty for Doug McDaniel. That was more the 1-for-1 there, but yeah, Memphis lost that one too. Although I loved what Doug brought tonight. Let me be clear about that. He played his balls off with a bum ankle, which I know RC doesn't want anybody to get hurt, but he needs a win like air, and he'll take any help he can get tomorrow. What else you got?
Doug McDaniel has made a career out of playing his balls off in a loss.
Perfect. That's what he's
true,
going to do in
man.
Memphis. That's
It's
perfect.
true.
For the next month, there's going to be a lot of that. There's no doubt about it, man. All right, Dagan, what else you got?
Yeah, last thing from me here, fellas. We posted this on our Twitter page earlier today. Basically, George Washington head coach Chris Caputo saying how it's very hard to schedule games. Oh, I'm paraphrasing, of course. Very hard to schedule games. Hard to get into these MTEs. Obviously, Feast Week coming up next week. Players era is dominating the schedule. Will we ever see a non-players era MTE be good again?
I'll start with the man that's organizing MTEs and Rob Dauster. He's still fighting against the dying of the light.
I hope so, and I don't think that it's over for MTEs. I think it's over in the immediate future. I hope that Maui can find a way to survive it, because if the Maui Invitational goes the way of the Great Alaska Shootout, I think that's a bad thing for college basketball. Those 3 days before Thanksgiving and the Battle for Atlantis, those are some of the best basketball games that we've seen, and some of my favorite memories from being a college basketball fan were moments in those gyms and moments in those games. I just wonder how long the players era thing is going to end up being sustainable financially, right? Like, with the amount of money that they're spending, how is that going to be profitable? And if it's not profitable, how long does it end up existing? And if you aren't able to get all of the biggest brands to come in, if you have a lot of matchups that involve, a top 5 team in the country and a team that's going to be in the bottom 5 of one of these power conferences, is that really something that people are going to be tuning into? I don't know. We'll see. But as it is right now, I think it's a bad way. The thing that Chris Caputo said that I think is even more interesting is the difficulty that programs at that level have scheduling games, and the way that the net has incentivized. I said it earlier kind of jokingly, but the net is incentivized play a top 10 team or play a bottom 10 team, right?
Yep.
Either play one of the best teams in the country or go beat a dog shit team by 1,000,000. Anything in the middle is not something that is good for the metrics, and is not something that is good for that specific metric that.
But although let me just say this. Let me just stop you, because you're right. But I would argue, all right, maybe you don't want to necessarily play the middle of the pack, but why don't you identify a team like this Memphis game? To me, is an example of why top tier teams should want to seek out, because Memphis is 75 right now at KenPom, but there is no doubt in my mind that Purdue, for having played this style of game, is going to be better in March because of it. So I think you can stylistically find and identify some of those teams. Yeah, maybe they're not top 10, bottom 10, but maybe they're going to do something different, because we know how many wacky offenses and defenses there are throughout college basketball. Just find some of those that are in the 50, 60, 70 range that can give you a fight and help you stylistically. I would argue that case.
But they don't want that in the non-conference. What the teams want is the opportunity to go get a marquee win that won't hurt you if you lose it, right? If Purdue loses to Texas Tech, it's really not going to hurt them. If Purdue lost to Memphis, that's the kind of loss that could be like, hey, listen, you know what? They have a number 1 seed resume, but they lost to Memphis. That's a quad seed.
On a
Like
neutral floor in November, you think if they run to the Big Ten, that anybody's going to care about that shit at all?
I think
The problem is,
impacts.
they're not gonna. You're not gonna worry as much when you're Purdue. The problem
It's not
is
Purdue.
when you're the other schools, right? When you're trying to fight for it's the middle of the conference, right? It's the Deeks, it's the Wake Forest teams that's trying to get that, right? And coaches aren't gonna, when you're not one of the top teams in your league, you have to be strategic about who you play. That part of it's not going to change. The format has punished teams for not scheduling that way. The problem you were talking about the MTEs, the reason they're going to go away in today's climate, for one, is you know how expensive it is to go to Maui to play in that?
You probably spend $500,000, right?
Dollars,
$500,000 to get out there and stay there for 4 days.
Yeah. You're talking about flying it, right? Trying to charter is so expensive that, and I'm talking about high major programs. This is when the fields was loaded. Both teams would load up and share the bill. They would foot the bill just to get there, right? Then you would fly commercial. The problem you have is you fly out there, it's crazy expensive, as great as it is, Maui is, and I know it history-wise, it's 3 games in 3 days. So you get out there, you're there for a day, it's 3 games in 3 days, which is tough, where a lot of the MTEs would be 3 and 4, where they at least give you an off day before the championship game. So it's 3 games, 3 days. Then you're all the way out there, and then you got to come back and then play a game within like 72 hours from the time you get back. And I don't know this for a fact, but if you go back and look up the record of teams when they've come back from Maui, everyone struggles, and a high percentage of them lose the game. So teams just aren't looking forward to it. It's just a beat down to do it. You saw, last year when Hurley went through it, when they struggled out of it, and that field was great, and they lost, they lost all 3 games. Correct me if I'm wrong. Last year, Rob, UConn did. You come back from that, and you got to play another game. It just makes it hard. And then you're talking about spending $500,000 in today's NIL world. That's a dude. That's not just a player. That's a pretty damn good player. So do you want to go – and that's just to get there. I'm not even talking about the total amount of money you spent to go on that MTE. They've done everything. They've tried to shrink them down. But the cost of what it's costing universities and everybody to get to these things in the NIL era, it's kind of like, you know what? I don't know if that's something that – I think that's at the front of it more than just worrying about playing everybody, who you play and scheduling. And he's right. When you're in these mid-major programs, high major teams, they don't want to do it. They're unwilling to do it because, again, you're mid-major. I'm expected to beat you.
Yeah. So RC, the money thing is like, it used to be you spend that money, and that is what convinces a player to come and play for you, because you can say,
right,
you know what, you're not getting paid, but you got 5 days, all expenses paid, out in Maui. And you get to play.
Yeah, nobody care about that anymore. Give me my money, and I'll go to Hawaii in the summertime. Give me my damn money. That's where it is.
Yeah, so I will pay for my own flight.
All this money, it's like a tournament, man. And people don't realize you go to these tournaments. It's not like they're getting discounts to come. You go on these events, and so when you start having these tournaments, man, you're spending a hell of a lot. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Dare I say? And I need to. Probably we need to look into that and we can find out exactly what the numbers are. But I do know those trips aren't fun, man. They're not as fun as everyone thinks. It's just a quick turnaround. You get there, your body's struggling, 3 straight games. You pray you win 2 minimum if you don't win the whole event. Then you come back. It's you struggle to get back. It's just a lot. And those events now are no longer it. You'll do it for when you can make some money. But those events are costing people money, and you're finding it harder and harder for people to try to sign up to want to play for them.
Well, got a banger tomorrow in the Bahamas. A little easier in terms of the time adjustment, right? Than Maui. So I'm looking forward to that. And then as soon as we get off here, I'm going straight to the Ole Miss message boards. I got to see what the latest is on Lane Kiffin. I got to see if he's taking LSU or Florida, man. It's like old school coaching search stuff, man. Maybe by the time we come on tomorrow, we'll see if Lane Kiffin has some clarity on his future. In the meantime, in between time, Rob Dauster, Randolph Childress, John Martin, thanks for hanging out with us here on the Afters, here on the Field of 68.